Everybody's doing it. Politicians are doing it. Musicians are doing it. Actors are doing it. Sports stars are doing it. Your neighbour may be doing it right now in their shed at the end of their garden. Little shout out there to Pancast Productions, but we'll get to that later. What am I talking about? Creating a podcast. And since everyone else seems to be doing it, I thought, let me give it a go. So here we are with the debut and possibly final episode of World of Stu. That there is what you would call a dramatic pause. Normally on a podcast they would fill that with a jingle, or they'd have some music, or they'd have some filler, an advertisement maybe. But this is rough, it's uncut, it's unedited. It's just me on my own. No studio, no mixing desk, no microphones. Just little old me and my trusty Nexus 7 with an app called Spreaker. And between the three of us, we hope to bring you something that you will find entertaining, or at the very least, give you half an hour escapism from the real world and the drudgery that is your actual life. That's not to say your life is necessarily full of drudgery. It might be fine. You might live in a world full of butterflies and bees and birds flying around and angels, and I don't know what I'm talking about now. I've got Who Framed Roger Rabbit in my head. So what's the World of Stu going to be about? Well, if you know me through Facebook and you've checked out my Facebook page, Stu's Reviews, you will know that I am the Geek Lord, as crowned by the Pancast production boys, Pavo and Neil. Quick little diversion here. Pancast Productions. Check them out on pancast.co.uk. Look them up on Facebook. They are literally the kings of the podcast. That's No Moon, That's a Podcast, Live at the Sheds, Movie Heaven, Movie Court, the list goes on and on. Those boys are awesome and they deserve your attention. So if you happen to stumble across this little offering from me and you feel like, I kind of like where he's going, I'm going to go and check out some other stuff, the first place to start is Pancast Productions. Now that I've got that plug out of the way, let's get back to what you're going to get on this show. I'm going to be reviewing movies and TV shows. But if you're expecting anything like a review of Titanic or EastEnders or Downton Abbey, for you Americans out there, EastEnders is a pretty dire soap opera, a bit like Days of Our Lives, but nowhere near as entertaining. You're not going to get that here. If you're looking for reviews of Spider-Man, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, TV shows, Better Call Saul, Bates Motel, Hannibal, all that kind of stuff, then this is the right place for you to be right now. But that's for a later date. Right now, we've got our first show right here on Spreaker /Facebook/World of Stu. So we need to get this show rolling, and I need to be talking about something that I know a little bit about. So for the first show, we are going to take a look at Batman in the movies. Now, if you don't know who Batman is, then shame on you. But he is, of course, the alter ego, the superhero alter ego of Bruce Wayne, who as a young child watched his parents get killed by Joe Chill. Now that, of course, changed a little bit as the movies went on, but we'll cover that when we get to it. Little Bruce Wayne, he went off around the world, he trained to be a ninja and, basically a kick-ass warrior. He goes back to Gotham City, where he was born, and he dedicates his life to eradicating crime. Unfortunately for him, the emergence of Batman brings out all the crazies, and he ends up fighting all sorts of weird criminals with crazy names like Two-Face, Joker, Penguin, Mr. Freeze. The list goes on and on and on. But Batman in the movies, we are going to trace that back to Batman the movie, 1966. The purists will argue that this version of Batman isn't that great. It's not exactly what you would class as the Dark Knight. It's very campy, it's very cartoonish, but it is awesome. Adam West as Batman is a legend. Burt Ward as Robin works kind of, except for the fact he's obviously a fully grown man and not a boy, as it would be in the comic books. And I'm sorry, but casting a short actor in the role does not make him look like a young boy. it's still obvious that he's a man. And it also starred, as the villains, Cesar Romero as the Joker, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, and there are others as well. But this was a great movie, and it's something that you can share with your kids. Unlike Christian Bale, I'm Batman, which might be a little bit scary for small kids. Batman the movie was what it was. Wasn't trying to be anything else. It wasn't trying to be gritty or grimy or dark or anything like that. It didn't take itself too seriously, and it is an awesome place to start your Batman education. However, skipping on, it took another 23 years before Batman would be made into another movie. And this time, we got closer to The Dark Knight than we had done before. It was 1989. It was Tim Burton, who, as you know, is famous for the likes of Edward Scissorhands, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Corpse Bride, Planet of the Apes, but we won't go there. And he cast Michael Keaton as Batman, who worked just perfectly. He was a great Bruce Wayne, he was a great Batman, and it also had my second favourite Joker of all time, Jack Nicholson, playing Jack Napier / the Joker. Now this is where things start to get a little bit hazy when it comes to changing characters and histories and stuff, because in this film, Jack Napier is the one who kills Bruce's parents as a child. Later on in the film, Bruce figures this out and they have a big to-do at the end. And they go with the one thing that I hate in comic book movies: they killed the villain off at the end, as Jack Napier, aka the Joker, falls to his death while Batman does his best to save, for some ungodly reason, the terrible Vicky Vale / Kim Basinger. From there, we had the second Tim Burton movie, which wasn't as well received as the first one. It was Batman Returns. Keaton comes back as Bats, and we had Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and we had Danny DeVito as the Penguin. We also had what's his name now? His name escapes me. Christopher Walken. He was in there as one of the villains as well. Good film again. Very dark, although not as dark as what we would get in later years, but we didn't know that at the time. Not as well received, as I said, as the first one. DeVito and Pfeiffer are good in their roles, but Nicholson just knocked it out of the park as the Joker, and no one was ever going to live up to that. So those were the first two films. So by 1992 we had not one but two great Batman movies committed to celluloid. I'd say three, because I love the 1966 version. 3 years later is where it all started to go wrong and the wheels started to come off, with the terrible Batman Forever, brought to us by Joel, I'm gonna kill this franchise, Schumacher.
Now, quite what anyone was thinking putting Schumacher in charge of the franchise, I have no idea. Keaton, he had the right idea. He jumped ship, he was gone. So Val Kilmer, he comes in to play Batman. Now don't get me wrong, Kilmer was not a bad Batman. He was good as Bruce Wayne. He was quite good as Batman. Was he as good as Keaton? No, but he wasn't as bad as what was to come. The problems with Batman Forever began when you look at the rest of the cast. First of all, you had Jim Carrey camping it up something rotten as the Riddler, but he was made to look almost like Orson Welles in Citizen Kane in comparison to the unbelievable overacting and scene chewing that was done by Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. Add to this, you had Chris O'Donnell, who was probably the least realistic Robin that there has ever been, who was almost the same age as Batman, which made no sense whatsoever, and Nicole Kidman as a character called Chase Meridian, who made Kim Basinger look like she was worthy of an Oscar, so that's how bad she was. Film pretty much sucked, and it looked like things were not going to go well for the Batman franchise. that didn't stop Warner Brothers giving Schumacher another chance at making a Batman film, and in the year 1997 we had Batman and Robin. This time we saw George Clooney, hot off of his run on ER. He was playing Batman, and we had, words fail me what I can say to this. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Arnold Schwarzenegger is obviously known for his famous one-liners, like "Get to the chopper" and "I'll be back," and all the little quips that he does in all his films, like Red Heat and Raw Deal and all that sort of thing. So they thought they would chuck some of those one-liners into a Batman film. If that wasn't bad enough, Uma Thurman, who is actually a very good actress, gave one of the worst roles of her life outside of the Avengers, but we won't go there, as Poison Ivy. And if that wasn't bad enough, they murdered the character of Bane. Now, for those of you who don't know who Bane is the man who in the comic books broke the Bat's back. He basically, long story short, broke all the criminals out of Arkham Asylum. Batman ran himself into the ground trying to capture them all, and then Bane broke into Wayne Manor, got Batman when he was absolutely knackered, picked him up, broke his back, put him out of commission. He went off, he did some rehabbing, came back, won back the mantle of the Bat from this other guy who'd been Batman, defeated Bane, all was good. In this movie, Bane is, I'm not even really sure how to describe it, he is a plant monster hybrid type character who's basically just there as Poison Ivy's, Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy's henchman. And yes, it is absolutely as bad as it sounds. Finally, the final nail in the coffin for this movie, other than O'Donnell coming back as the worst Robin ever, is Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. There's nothing wrong with having Batgirl in the film, but everybody knows, going all the way back to the 66 TV show, that Batgirl is Barbara Gordon. There's a whole thing as well where, you know, in the comic books, the Joker, he ends up crippling her, and she retires as Batgirl, but she becomes Oracle, or yada yada yada. Anyway, in this Batman film, they decided, Batman and Robin, I should say, they decided to make her Alfred's niece. No real explanation as to why, other than the fact that the Commissioner Gordon in these films wouldn't have had a daughter of that age, but that's a whole other issue. And pretty much 1997 saw the death of the Batman franchise. It looked like it was over, it was done, it was finished. Well, it was finished for 8 years. That's how long it took to get another decent Batman film. 8 years, and then Christopher Nolan, bang, smashes it out of the park with Batman Begins. His Batman, Christian Bale, the only criticism I would have actually of Christian Bale as Batman is the way he's a good Bruce Wayne, again, like Kilmer and Keaton, but when he becomes Batman, the way he differentiates himself, which the other two didn't really do, but I don't have a problem with, them not differentiating the characters of Bruce Wayne and Batman. The way Christian Bale does it is, he growls. So it's, hi, I'm Christian Bale, I'm Bruce Wayne, how are you?
I'm Batman. I'm going to get you. Why? Because I'm Batman.
And that's how you know he's Batman, you see. Anyway, Liam Neeson stars in this film as Ra's al Ghul. That's right, people. I said Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's al Ghul. People who are making the TV show Arrow, pay attention. It's Ra's, not Raz. And you're the worst offenders because you're putting in Raz and Ra's in the same show. It's Ra's. Look at my son's name, Connor Ra's Grant. It's Ra's. Anyway, Liam Neeson, he plays Ra's al Ghul. And it's a great film. It's a return to form for Batman, and it's probably my third favourite of the Batman films, behind the 89 Tim Burton Batman, the 66 Adam West Batman, and then you got Batman Begins. It was kind of a trilogy deal going on, because in 2008, 3 years after Batman Begins, we got The Dark Knight. Now this is another movie which has a bone of contention for me, because Heath Ledger won a posthumous Oscar for his performance as the Joker in this film. Personally, my opinion is, dude only got an Oscar because he died. Either just during filming, I think it might have been towards the back end of filming, he died. very tragic, drug overdose, yada yada. He was not as good a Joker as everyone raved about. He literally got the attention he got because he died, and that's just my opinion, as unpopular as it may be, but he is not even in my top 3 Jokers. It was alright, but it wasn't great. We also had Aaron Eckhart. He played Harvey Dent, who then became Two-Face. Going back to Tommy Lee Jones, he just appeared as Two-Face. There was no Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face. He was just Two-Face. We did have Harvey Dent in the 89 Batman and the 92 Batman Returns, both directed by Tim Burton, but he was played by Billy D. Williams, who played Lando Calrissian, for all you Star Wars fans out there. I think that was right. Star Wars fans will no doubt post comments and tell me, you're wrong, that's not what his name is, it's Lando, Jar Jar Binks, whatever. It's a good film, again, lots of big set pieces, big action pieces. Christopher Nolan smashing it out of the park again. 4 years after that, 2012, the final part of his trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises, whilst I will give this film credit because it gives Bane a return of the Bane character, this time in his proper role, although there is no venom pumping through his veins. If you want to know more about that, check out the comic books or Google or Wikipedia, and that will explain what the venom is with Bane. But he is a terrorist. He does come in, he does break the Batman's back, and he sends Batman away to be rehabbed. In the meantime, he drives a bomb around the city, and then there's this really convoluted end where Ra's al Ghul's daughter turns up, and she was in cahoots with Bane, and Bane basically gets treated as an afterthought at the end of it because it's all Talia al Ghul. Then there's this terrible ending with Batman. Is he dead? Is he not dead? Ruined the whole film for me. It was quite a good film, but the ending was far too hokey and far too, what is that going on about? Alfred, oh, is it a dream? Is it not? I don't care. Michael Caine, you're not very good at Alfred anyway. Go away. So that was the last Batman film we had, and that brings me to the reason why I have decided to cover the Batman films for the first ever episode of World of Stu, and that is because 2016, in 12 months from now, we are going to get Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. This is going to be the second film of the DC cinematic universe to compete with the Marvel cinematic universe, following the god-awful Man of Steel, in which Henry Cavill plays the worst Superman you have ever seen in your life. But they're following that movie up. It got panned for the mass destruction and the casual wiping out of thousands of people in Metropolis. They're carrying on, and they're hoping that they're going to have lots of DC movies, and they're starting it off with Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, which is going to lead into a Justice League movie. What is my problem with this, other than the fact that Henry Cavill is going to be Superman again? If you know what the casting is of the film, you know exactly what I'm going to say. My problem with this film is Batfleck. That's right. Ben Affleck is going to be playing Batman. Ben Affleck, the man with less charisma than a wooden stick that has been snapped in half. A man with the acting range of Joey Essex. Ben Affleck is playing Batman. If you want to know how bad Ben Affleck's acting range is, check him out in Gone Girl, which I will say is a good film until, well, it starts off as a good film, halfway through it gets a bit hokey, and then the wife goes a bit crazy and mental. Check out Gone Girl. His acting in especially the second half of that film is terrible and does not make me have good positive vibes for Batman vs Superman, or Batfleck vs Superman as I'm calling it. The trailer, we've had a teaser trailer come out, again does not fill me with hope.
So I'm going to growl like Christian Bale because I'm Batman.
Lots of explosions, lots of set pieces, probably lots of people dying, although you'll never actually see that on screen. It's not going to be good. I will, if it is brilliant and I love it, I will be the first to put my hand up and say, yay, I was proven wrong. Batfleck is not the devil's work. Batfleck does play the character well and it's great. But the problem with the story is that it's based on The Dark Knight Returns, which is a famous Frank Miller graphic novel in which Batman has been retired for years. Gotham City has been ravaged by crime, and Batman decides to come back and kick the backsides of all the criminals and take back his city. Unfortunately, in his grisly old age, he has decided that he's not going to take any prisoners, and he just smashes the crap out of anyone that gets in his way. Superman has become a sycophant to the American government, and he flies around and does whatever they tell him to. They send him in to fight Batman, and there's a big fight, and Batman eventually dies, except he doesn't die, it's all a ruse, yada 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 yada. If you're going to go with that storyline, and they're not going to go with it directly, they're going to cherry pick bits of it, the bits that they want, and they're going to get rid of some of the other bits that they don't. Why not get an older actor in? I would even, and this may be a little bit out of left field, I would chuck in Michael Keaton as the Batman for Batman vs Superman. He's played the role, we've seen him in the role. He is old enough to play the grizzled veteran Batman who's been in retirement and has come back. Ben Affleck, I'm not buying it. I'm not feeling the love. I'm sorry, DC. I'm just really, really not feeling the love. But we will find out in a year's time how it's going to go. So we're drawing to a close now on the first ever episode of World of Stu. If you like what you hear, then hit me up with some comments below. This is obviously going to appear on Facebook. Check out Stu's reviews as well. But before we finish up, I think we should take a look at Batman and the actors that have played him, and I will now give you, in order, descending order, or no, actually, let's go ascending order, from worst to best, the actors that have played Batman. I'm going to stick Batfleck at the bottom. I just cannot see past Ben Affleck. Batfleck is the worst person to ever play Batman. Closely followed by George Clooney. Then at number 3, you've got Val Kilmer. Number 2, you have Adam West. And number 1, you have Michael Keaton. I would, as a caveat to this, put in there, because it doesn't really count, but Kevin Conroy, who does an immense job as Batman in years and years and years and years of animated Batman stuff. Check out the Batman animated series and all of the related films and so on that have been spawned off of that. Kevin Conroy is Batman. So he would be at the top, but if we're looking, and everyone else would move down one, but if we're looking at just live action, then Michael Keaton gets it for me. Jokers, because we mentioned Heath Ledger and his posthumous Oscar, which I don't think he deserved. Jokers, in reverse order, we would have Heath Ledger at the bottom. We would then have not Jack Nicholson. We would have Heath Ledger. We would have Cesar Romero. Then we would have Jack Nicholson. I would also throw in there, again, going back to the animated series, Mark Hamill. You cannot think of the Joker and not think of Mark Hamill. He was in The Flash, the TV show, not too long ago, a few weeks ago, and he played a character whose name escapes me right now, the Trickster. He played the Trickster, and he hammed that up big star. You close your eyes, he was the Joker. Absolutely was the Joker. Yes, he's most famous for playing Luke Skywalker. He's going to be back in Star Wars at the end of the year with The Force Awakens. But Mark Hamill is the Joker. So he would be my favourite. But again, taking out animated, Jack Nicholson all the way. Speaking of animated Jokers, Michael Emerson in the 2 parts The Dark Knight Returns cartoon that is based off the graphic novel. Check that out as well, because Michael Emerson plays a really good Joker, particularly in the second part of that. It comes in 2 parts, 2 different Blu-rays. So that's the end of the show. Like I say, if you like it, leave comments. If you don't like it, leave comments. Tell me who your favourite Batman is, who your favourite Joker is, what order you would have those Batman films in. Speaking of which, I suppose I should just say, favourite Batman film of all time is 1989 Tim Burton Batman, then 1966 Batman, then Batman Begins, Batman Returns maybe on a par with The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight rises purely because Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are so atrociously bad that it gets above them. Then Batman Forever, Batman for Robin at the bottom. Leave comments if you like it. Show me some love, and I will come back with another show soon. If not, it was an interesting experiment. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.